The time is just gone 18 minutes past 9 a.m. and it's time now to look at black professionals in South Africa and what are the challenges, what are the risks that black professionals face in terms of still being targeted, in terms of being marginalized and destroyed by dominant forces if they continue folding their arms. And we joined on the line by is it Xolani Dube, a senior researcher at the Xubera Institute for Research and Development. Xolani, good morning to you and welcome to the show.
Thanks a lot. Let me humble myself as well as to the listeners.
Well, there's one thing I've just picked up looking at your name and looking at the Xubera Institute. And I must say, a very, very smart move using your name and your surname.
No, Xubera Institute, Xubera is a Swahili name, but we changed X to Z for phonetic reasons, and it means friend.
Well, that was just a side comment, but we are now talking about black professionals and the question of subjugation. Now we know, we've come from an ugly history of apartheid and colonialism, and the whole question surrounding subjugation as far as black professionals are concerned. And that's the reason why you, Xolani, have raised this issue and at the same time warning black professionals about the risks that are associated.
I don't think that we have passed that stage. As much we have not passed the stage of colonialism, because colonialism as well, apartheid, it was more than psychological internalization of who we are as black people, defined by those who colonized us. As you can see even today, most of the black people in terms of mannerism, in terms of culture, they all mimic the so-called the colonizers. And so I don't think really that we have defeated apartheid as well as colonialism in all aspects, even in terms of system and structures and in terms of how we run our country. We have not. But what happened, there is this internalization and institutionalization of colonialism and apartheid. And so I don't think that there is any black person who can stand up and say, yes, we have defeated colonialism and apartheid. And so we are still there. Hence, we have this seminar that says, how can we really try to free ourselves from this yoke of colonialism and apartheid?
Now, also, when we talk about this whole yoke of colonialism, the key issue here is perceptions and the perception of black professionals. And this you make mention of where there is this perception that has been crafted as black professionals being corrupt, incompetent, and visionless.
It is a perception, but this perception to other people is the reality, that even as if the black people are not competent, even as if black people are corrupt, and when you look at all these commissions, and when you look even in the work environment, and when you look at the conduct authority towards the black people, they always try to break the spirit and the soul of the black people so that black people continuously must internalize that they are second human beings compared to their attitude to their colonizers. And how this issue of corruption shows that a motive to the real liberation of black people get twisted, and the so-called the victims become the villains, and then those who really control the master narrative always remain immaculate and always emerge as the saviors of those who are so determined to destroy themselves, of which the victims in this particular case.
But also, Xolani, the key issue here is about a complex, and I think you articulate this quite well in terms of a superiority or an inferiority complex. And this obviously is a legacy. It is a legacy of colonialism and apartheid. But at the same time, are we actually seeing any difference? Because since 1994, we've been now through an entire generation that have been schooled in the post-apartheid era, and they've had the ability to grow and become professionals in a post-apartheid climate.
Look, the sad part is, I'll give you an example. We have the Muslim community in our country. The Muslim community decided to delink themselves from the systems and structures of colonialism that predominantly promote the Western culture and thinking. We have what we call it the Indian community, your Hindu, your Tamil. They did the same thing to say, we will look at the Western culture with a John's eye. We are not going to fully embrace this Western culture because we know this Western culture is toxic. This Western culture is the weapon against us. The same thing, even within the Europeans, the Germans, even here in South Africa, have their own school. The Germans, even here in South Africa, have their own culture. The Germans, even here in South Africa, they protect their own language, so as well as the French, so as well as the Italian. But the natives of this country, they are failing to redefine and unite themselves against this cultural domination that is conceiving the powers of the Western, power. And so when you talk about the post-1994, I can say without fear that post-1994, that's where explicitly and evidently we see each and every day how a black person is being defeated. Look how a number of black people who proud themselves that their kids are studying at St. John, at Michael House, at Hilton College, and then you ask yourself, what kind of culture do these schools have to the so-called historically oppressed? And at the end of the day, what emerges out of this education is cultural assimilation of those who dominate the economy and of those who are being favored by the systems and structures of this country. And so the black people, the so-called native, will never be free unless they comprehend that there is this power matrix, and this power matrix is being fueled by the structures and systems that currently are intact in this country. But post-1994, they were never challenged.
Now, I see, obviously, you are addressing this issue, and to address this issue, you are hosting a panel discussion, and this is expected to feature high-level academic scholars and activists just to discuss this very aspect. And I think more importantly, in terms of how do you manage the situation, how do you tackle the situation going forward? Because I suppose, we don't want to be sitting and having this discussion 20 years from now when we're still talking about things like empowerment and the like.
Look, the third part, before I answer your question, the natives, they think that the world is not at war. They think that the nations are not at war. In this issue of power context, war is permanent. That's the fact. Because power is highly contested. And so the natives were indoctrinated around the concept of peace. Because once you negotiate peace, you surrender. You think everything will be achieved through innocence, whereas power is not innocent at all, And so what we'll be having today, we are moving away from these traditions of having a scholar that will be there in the front talking for about an hour, 2 hours. But we will give the attendees an opportunity this time for them to chart the way forward. We know all our pitfalls. We need not to romanticize them. We need not again to keep on repeating them. But we need to know what is the way forward. If we are failing to craft the way forward, I can assure you, it means that we are still in this sinkhole of not thinking beyond our past.
Now, I see you obviously have raised a number of issues, and when we see what some of the issues that are taking place around us, for example, the Zondo Commission on state capture, and also you make mention about sometimes prominent figures trying to be embarrassed. You cited the example of Louis Lake, the former president of SA Rugby, who tried to embarrass Nelson Mandela by taking him to court. Thabo Mbeki himself, you make mention of, and now we see what is happening with Jacob Zuma, Ace Makashule, and also our president, Cyril Ramaphosa, who is not immune to this.
Look, you know what I was demonstrating is that the victims, they always become the villains because the master narrative has managed to have that power. We had TRC in our country where the victims were the ones who were crying in those halls, and the perpetrators were nowhere to be seen. And at the end of the day, Mamu Winnie Mandela became the monster of apartheid, and we was made to feel as if all the atrocities of apartheid were perpetrated by her. Remember that scene between her and Baba Desmond Tutu. There is always that point when black people want to know the truth. We see black people confront each other and make the other the villain. Even in this case of the Zondo Commission, black people in this country have never captured the state. The people who capture the state are the multinational companies. For God's sake, everyone knows that the state is at the hands of the multinationals, because the multinationals are the ones who control the means of production. As they control the means of production, they determine the price and they determine the political power in this country. We know that. But today, as you can see in Zondo Commission, we don't see KPMG there. We don't see the Lonmins there. We don't see the Ruperts there. We don't see the Oppenheimers there. But we see a black person being interrogated by another black person. And now, as we speak, we are waiting. What will be the verdict between the relationship between a black man and another black man here, between Babu Jacob Zuma and Babu Zondo? Because now, it's no longer about state capture. It's about how the black people are failing to govern. I'm not sure if you understand me. We are no longer dealing with the issue of state capture. We are dealing with the issues of personalities now. And those personalities are excluded around the black people. And as we see, as a black person or even a white person, Indian colored, they look at this Zondo Commission and say, yes, the black people are corrupt. But the people who are corrupt, who created these systems that enable corruption in this country, they are not sitting there. They are not answerable to anyone. They are proceeding doing what they've been doing for years and years and years in this country.
Yes, now, Xolani, just finally, this is an event that is taking place this evening, from what I see, at the Hilton Hotel in Sandton.
Yes. We are starting at 6 for 6:30 at Hilton Hotel here in Sandton in Rivonia.
Well, it's going to be quite interesting to see what actually comes out of it. But as always, we thank you for your time. We wish you well for the event this evening. And more importantly, we do appreciate your time with us this morning here on Salam Media.
Thanks a lot to your media and also to give voice to the voiceless. Thanks a lot.
Xolani Dube joining us this morning, looking at black professionals and calling on them that, you know what, there are so many prejudices, but more importantly, confront your subjugation.